Cancer may have been part of your story, but it doesn't get to define your future. Your journey didn't end with survival. It's leading you somewhere greater, to joy. See you next episode. The Destination Joy, where faith, healing, and purpose meet after cancer. I'm your host, Doc V, a licensed clinical social worker and proud 20-year cancer survivor. Welcome to the show. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Destination Joy. I'm Doc V. I'm your host, and I'm so glad that you joined us tonight for this show. Destination Joy is a show where we talk with cancer survivors, their loved ones, their caregivers, just to bring inspiration and hope as they travel this cancer journey. So tonight, our show is called The Space in Between. And the space between us. And we're talking about that emotional disconnect that sometimes we have with our relationships after a diagnosis. And my guest tonight is Bernie Stanley. And I met him through one of the Facebook groups, colorectal cancer fighters and survivors. And I was really interested in the post that he made. And so I reached out to him and he agreed to be with us tonight. And I so appreciate that. And I appreciate his wife allowing him the opportunity to be authentic with us. So let me bring Bernie to the stage. Hey,
Hello.
Bernie.
Well, thanks for having me.
I'm so glad you're here. So I know you recently diagnosed. When were you diagnosed with colon cancer?
The official date when we confirmed that it was actually cancer and not just two random tumors was September 10th of 2025.
Okay.
It was just last year.
Okay, so you've been going through treatment, chemo, and you had surgery also?
Yes. Well, the treatment started shortly after, and then in January 5th, I had the Da Vinci robot surgery that removed part of my right liver and a section of my colon as well as my gallbladder. And the gallbladder was just incidental; it didn't have cancer in it, but I think that it's as a standard rule they take it out anyhow. And as I completed my 12th round and final round of the same chemotherapy today, so that's all I've done so far. It's a lot though. I also had a kidney stone, which wasn't cancer related, but it was awfully painful anyway.
So, but you're doing well.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I feel great.
Okay. Well, I know that I wanted to post this picture of your wife. You have a gorgeous wife. What's her name?
Her name's Allison, and she does look right. She looks pretty good. She's in the other room, so I hope she can hear me.
And how long have y'all been married?
29 years as of now. That'll be 30 in June, and and we dated for a couple of years ahead of that. So it's a lot of tolerance on her behalf, right?
So would you say she's your biggest supporter?
Oh yeah, yeah. Her and my mom. I mean, yeah, she's around the clock. She's always there. And I mean, when I have a new whatever the new information is, whether it's a bad lab result or a good lab result or any kind of information whatsoever, she's the first person I talk to. That has pros and cons, I will say, and that's probably the topic of our conversation tonight.
Okay. Um, Let me show this picture of your family.
Hmm.
So I
Yeah,
think
that's me when I was a little boy in the fire truck, and you can't see my dad's head in that picture, but that's my dad standing behind me. And my father was paralyzed in a train accident. You can see the picture of him when I was clearly younger with more hair when he was in his manual wheelchair. That was shortly after his accident. And the one with the big group of people standing around him is at Gelati Celesti Ice Cream out, our favorite ice cream shop, and some of our family came out with us there. And the one on the boat with me with my hair sticking out. Again, I had more hair than that's my mom there. And two of my kids are on that raft, and then my son, who's now 22 years old, I got my arm around him on the boat, and my daughter on my shoulders. So those are good pictures.
okay. All right. So you're pretty healthy, and you get this cancer diagnosis. So how did that impact your life?
Oh wow! Not only well, I would say that I'm generally healthy now, other than the cancer. But I've kind of spent the last 20 years working out and going to the gym, so I wasn't even like just average healthy. I was extra strong and in pretty good shape and feeling pretty confident about myself, particularly relative to most people that are 55, 56 years old. They aren't going to the gym and not taking good care of themselves. And I was feeling like I was in great shape for somebody that was my age. And then I found out this, and of course, my first concern was not whether I'm going to be in good shape. It was a question of whether I was going to live or not. The cancer concept to me was, for me having it was completely new. Um, I had some pains in my uh, under my ribs, and oddly enough, in an area that doesn't have anything to do with cancer, but it was probably referred pain from my liver. I went to the primary care physician. He told me to go to the ER the next day if I couldn't get an appointment for a CT scan. So I did, and I got the CT scan. And long story short is there was a 5.7 centimeter mass on my colon, and a similar sized, basically the size of a lemon, about a little smaller than my fist, I guess. Um, that's on both places, and of course they don't know that it's cancer necessarily, but statistics tell you if you have a big colon tumor and you also have a big tumor on your liver, you probably have colon cancer on your liver. And for those who don't know, the colon cancer that spreads to your liver, it doesn't become liver cancer. That's a different kind of cancer. I didn't know that, so I'm only sharing that in case somebody doesn't know that. But if you have colon cancer that spreads to your lungs, you don't have lung cancer. You have colon cancer in your lungs, and that's something that I learned about in the process. But when I did I used Chat GPT, and I used that to find out some things really quickly that I can't ask somebody. And one of the things that I found out was that the statistical odds of me surviving 2 years and 5 years were pretty bad. I think it was 40, 50% or something for 2 years, and like very low numbers, like 20% survival for 5 years. And then I started thinking, well, wait a minute. They don't even know who I am. This Chat GPT doesn't know who I am. It doesn't know what hospital I'm going to. It doesn't know what doctor I have. It doesn't know anything about me. So I started telling it all these things. And the numbers changed from 20% to like 40%. And I'm like, is that's all you got? So, of course, it took a while to figure out, you can't rely on the statistics. The statistics don't necessarily apply to you. And each case is independent of every other. Also, technology is evolving, and medical advances are improving so quickly that this data that Chat GPT and stuff and Google is using is already outdated. Even if it was a month old, it's outdated because there's some new stuff that came out this month.
Right.
So you can't really. You could in the past to judge things based on the past, but we've had so many advancements, that the statistical data that you're looking at now is kind of gone out the window. And when someone on our on the Facebook group that we're both in says, "Hey, I was just diagnosed and I'm devastated at finding out that I may not have that long to live," and the general overall response from hundreds of people is going to be, "Oh, don't listen to the statistics. You can be fine." And people like yourself, "Hey, I had colon cancer 20 years ago, and I'm fine." That was 20 years ago. So what's your excuse? You just had it today. It's 2026. You can be healed. You can be cured. So don't let these statistics get you down. And that's the vast majority of people that are responding. So it's not just me, and it's not just you can't really pay attention to the
Yeah,
answer.
the doctors want to give you a realistic view. They don't want to
lower the expectations. That way you can be, "Oh man, I didn't die. That's awesome."
exactly.
Exactly.
But in the cancer world, I look at the 5-year survival rate, and I remember I think my 5-year survival rate was 15%.
Yeah, I think it still is.
Years, so.
And you're still here, so that was wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think I would love to know how that statistic is calculated, because I have a feeling that it has something to do with, I mean, first of all, what percentage of people are going to not live 5 years anyway, even without the cancer? People have type 2 diabetes, they have heart conditions, they have all kinds of other maladies, and they could just be in a car accident. So I don't know how they calculate these numbers, but the message I would send to anybody listening would be, let's just set them aside. Just that's nice statistic to know if you want to dwell in the gloom and doom, but the gloom and doom is not going to help you get through this. That's just going to bring you down, and it's frankly not realistic. So
right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So you went to the emergency room and they did what they do, a CAT scan, or what they do?
Yeah, they had the CT scan, and it was funny because the nurse practitioner came in, and I'm waiting in the room. She said, "Have you seen your chart?" I said, "No," and she said, "Oh, whew. All right. So turns out you have," and she starts telling me this stuff, and then after she leaves, I'll pull up my chart, and yeah, it was in there. It was already in there that I had these lesions, and so I'm by myself, and I was not going there thinking I was getting a cancer diagnosis. I thought I was going to find out, I had some kind of, I don't know. I didn't know gas. I didn't know what it would be, and so I texted my wife from there and said they found a lesion or a growth in my colon and my liver. And looking back on it, I probably shouldn't have done that. She was at school. She's a school teacher, and she was going to leave work, I think. And anyway, what's really crazy is that when I got to the parking lot, she was there, and she was 45 minutes away when I texted her. So I don't know how she got there that fast, but and it wasn't anything to do. I mean, what are you gonna do? She gets out of the car and she's like, eh. And I could tell she was very upset. I think she was quite devastated. Probably more so than me, to be honest. I think I was just in shock, but anyway, but she was there, and then we went home, and that was rough. It was a rough time.
Okay.
It's a very raw feeling.
That does the research. I know somebody Googled everything and figured out,
that'd be me. I use AI for work, so I'm using software called Claude AI, and I use ChatGPT too. And I did a ridiculous amount of research, and I have an entire file called Cancer. I had to change it to Cancer 2.0. When it got filled up, it was too much information. And so now I'm on Cancer 3.0. But this is a good tip for anybody that's interested in doing this the way that I did it. Not saying you need to, but I uploaded every scan, every lab result. I record and transcribe every doctor appointment and every nurse practitioner and everything. I upload the conversation, the transcription of all of that. I ask it questions. I tell it about symptoms or developments. It remembers all of it, and it keeps track of it all for you. And then when I say, "Hey, here's my results from today," and I literally did this today. I uploaded my lab results today without reading them because they're very technical. It says, "Here's the good news. Blah 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 blah. Your MCV number was low. Whatever. This means such and such, but that tracks with your low iron. So everything's good. You're already being treated for this. Blah blah blah." It breaks it down into layman's terms so that you can understand it. And the main thing it does for me is it remembers everything, because I don't remember everything. And I remember a small fraction of everything. And so it's very helpful. It's particularly helpful for interpreting things. And you can even upload like the PET scan summary. I uploaded that. Yeah, I can read a summary, but I uploaded that and it interpreted that as well. It's very helpful, and you can use it on just your phone. You don't need to use your desktop. In fact, I rarely use a desktop for the cancer stuff. I'm using my phone generally, but it's a really helpful tool. And not everybody's technologically savvy, and some people don't care about doing that. But a lot of people bring someone with them that's good at note taking. Say, hey, you taking notes, all right? Well, you won't necessarily have to do that if you just record with your phone and then transcribe it, and then now you got a transcription. You upload it to AI, to whichever platform you want. Like I said, I use Claude, but you can use Chat GPT or Gemini or any of those. And you do that, and now you have a summary, and it breaks it all down, and you don't forget anything that they said. Good
Okay,
stuff.
that's pretty cool. That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
different topic for a different day, but it's worth getting out there because it really did help me a lot, and it still continues to help me.
Okay. So take us back to, so you're at the emergency room and you text your wife and say they found this tumor, this lesion or whatever. So what was her first response to you when she got there?
Well, I was in my truck and I saw her pull up, and if she had gotten there, I didn't know that she was going to be right there that fast, so I was going to leave and assumed I was going to be meeting her at home. And I was in my truck and I wound the window down. She came up to the window, and I think she wanted me to open the door. Like she wanted to give me a hug, but I didn't want to have a full blown meltdown and crying and everything right there in the parking lot. And I said, look, there's nothing to do. Let's go home. We'll talk about it when we go home. And we talked briefly. I don't remember specifically what we said, but um, I mean, both of us were in a similar state of like, what the heck do we do now? And just a little bit of background. My dear friend John Pierce, he has passed away since. He passed away about a month ago, and unfortunately, we were very acutely aware of colon cancer and all the problems that come with it, because he had colon cancer too. What are the odds that, I have a very small friend group, not because I'm a jerk, it's just because I'm very picky about my friends, no matter what they say. But I have a small friend group, and I have a certain number of friends, 4 or 5 friends really. And he happens to be one of them, happened to have colon cancer. And we actually went to the same oncologist, and had chemotherapy next to each other. Um, John's a super guy, but so we already knew all about colon cancer, but all of my questions had always been asked in the "How are you doing?" and "What's it like?" But I wasn't asking from "I need to know because I have it." That's different. All of a sudden, like for example, I don't know. Let me show you this. Everyone knows what these look like. This is the chemo port, and I'm currently hooked up to the little ball of 5FU. Anyway, when you take that off, there's just a lump sitting there. Everyone has a port knows that. I said, and now that I know that I'm going to be getting one, I asked John, can I touch that? He's like, sure. So I touched it, and I was like, oh, that's so creepy. Is that weird? Does it hurt? He said, no, it doesn't hurt. But there's a difference between asking someone that when you don't think you're ever going to have cancer, how their cancer is going, and when you finally find out you do have cancer, and now you want to know, okay, now let's get real. What's it going to be like? What's the chemo like? What's the infusion going to be like overall? What are the side effects? And I started asking a million questions, and I was fortunate to have a friend other than Chat GPT who could answer my questions, that was a real world person. And he has been a dear friend all the way up until his last minute, and he's very deeply missed.
Okay. Wow. Wow, that's kind of deep.
Yeah, the odds of 2 friends having it and sitting next to each other is pretty crazy. Um, and yeah, it was. We've been around since he was first diagnosed years ago, and he had ileostomy, and then had it reversed, and then had to reverse it again because of problems. But he's a wonderful guy with a wonderful family, and he has 3 daughters and a beautiful wife, Tammy. Hopefully, she'll watch this in a little bit. And she's a wonderful person, and she was his biggest supporter. So She
Okay.
was there for everything. I think you froze up there for a sec. Maybe internet difficulty. Oh, there you are.
Yes, gonna have internet issues.
Oh man, you better pay your bills, lady.
So was that helpful to have someone that understood and
Oh,
knew?
oh, absolutely. I mean, if it wasn't for him, I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody that had colon cancer. I know people that have had it, but I don't know them personally. And there's a guy sitting on my deck every week. You hang out and smoke cigars and have a drink and talk about whatever, and it would be a small part of many conversations. Sometimes a larger part when there was bad news. And here's the perfect person to ask, sitting right there in front of me. So that was very helpful.
Yeah.
I
So yeah, I
think
remember that I didn't know anybody, and so you do all this Google research or whatever, but to have a real person to say, okay, don't listen to that,
yeah.
or
Yeah.
it's not, that's not how it goes.
Yeah, and I already had credibility. Like he already had credibility that I could where I could ask him a question, and I can even ask, and I still ask Tammy questions, and we still talk about it. But having a trusted friend whose opinion I trust and has demonstrated credibility. Although we have made bad choices in the past together, usually when we are drinking and socializing and we make bad choices. I'm not telling those stories, but the people that know me know the stories that John was involved in. And we got into some trouble. No legal trouble. I mean, we flirted the edges of legality, but we had some good times. And we argue about who instigated all the trouble. I say it was him. He says it was me. So he's not around to defend himself. So I'm just going to say it was him.
Okay, all right. So is that who you would go to with your fears, your?
I would say I didn't. I would ask him more specific things. I didn't actually talk to him. I mean, maybe it's a male, masculine kind of thing. Guys don't talk about their fears usually, not to other guys. And the truth is, I mean, I did talk to him about stuff, but the honest truth is that at that particular time when I found out, he was way worse off than I was. So for me to say I'm scared implies that he should be scared. So I'm not going to say, "Hey, John, I'm scared to death. I have these two tumors, and I just found out, and I haven't even had any treatment yet. I'm really scared." When he's had all of this stuff go wrong, and he had lesions that appeared in his lungs, and he was getting radiation in New York, and I mean, he had so many problems. So I felt like my problems are small and his were big. So for me to say I'm so scared, that implies that he should be scared, and I don't want to say that to him. And
Yeah,
if he heard me say that, he'd be like, "Oh, I appreciate that, man."
yeah. But when you got the you got the diagnosis, because I know I thought it was a death sentence, because that's had been
Yeah,
my experience, that people got cancer and they died.
and me
So
too. Yeah, I have it. I think you and I and everyone else who's ever had that feeling of a death sentence, hopefully sees the world from a different perspective. That sees a bluer sky and greener grass, and stops and smells the roses kind of mentality versus it's just another day and time grows on trees. When you see that time might be more limited for you, you appreciate things more.
right, exactly. So so I know the reason that I found you through a post on a Facebook group, and you talked about the emotional disconnect, and I think that that is a normal part of people don't know how to respond to you. So
Hmm.
your friends, your family, you
Hmm.
say, I have cancer. How do you respond to that? What do you say? I'm so sorry. So
Yeah. Yeah, well, and if someone goes overboard, and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry that I'm just devastated to hear that," well, that makes it sound like you're going to die, right? So I wouldn't want to go. Oh, my God, I heard you have cancer. I'm so sorry. Is your family going to be okay? Like that's the kind of thing that you're hearing when they do that. So you don't want to go to somebody that just got diagnosed with cancer and act like you're like it's a death sentence. I mean, let's unless you know it is and you're close enough with them to know it is, like, hey, they're in the hospice program, it's definitely a death sentence, whatever. But when someone just finds out that they have cancer, that's the last thing you probably want to do, is act like it's the end of the world, because hopefully it's not. And that's why I think when people come to me, when people would find out that had it, there was a whole lot of mixed emotions, and I think things that people would say. And one thing I learned after my dad's train accident was that people, particularly young people, and even older people too, don't know what to say when there's something really bad happens to somebody, like they're in a tragic accident or they lose a loved one or something. They kind of wait for the dust to settle to be there for you. They don't really jump right out at you and say, "Hey, I heard you just got diagnosed. Is there anything I can talk to you about? Can I come over and visit you?" They don't. Most people don't do that. I have a tight set of friends, and they do, but not everybody. And I've had some friends come, some friends I hadn't talked to in a while that wanted to have lunch with me all of a sudden, and I'm like, I'm glad to see them. Don't get me wrong. I'm not negative about that. I actually feel like, hey, sometimes you have to have something bad happen so you can connect with people that you cared about in the past. And so I'm not saying that this is a negative thing, but people don't know how to act. They don't know what you need to have. Should they say, like I said, I'm so sorry, or just ask you how you doing? They don't really know what to do. And if it'd be one thing if you broke your leg, you got a cast on your leg, it's going to heal. I'm sorry, I hear you broke your leg. That's an easier subject to deal with, and most people can handle that. But just like me, when someone tells me that they have cancer, I don't know. I don't know what's going to. And in the back of my head, I'm thinking, are they going to die? And how soon are they going to die? Is it going to be a miserable death, or like I'm thinking all this awful stuff, but I don't want to ask the person because then it puts that idea in their head.
Right.
So you just don't say anything, and that's the wrong thing to do too.
Yeah.
And I'm no different than anybody else. I don't always know what to do when someone has an issue like that either.
So you talked about your mom as a big support. So how did you tell your mom?
Oh, we went to her house and talked to her in person. She handled it well. She's a trooper. I think how you present things probably has a lot to do with it. I don't want to say spin, because spin implies that I'm almost lying about something, but I wanted to have a plan in place of what I'm going to do before I talk to her. That's probably important to have some idea. You don't just, call somebody, 5 minutes after your diagnosis and say, "Yeah, I got cancer. I don't know how long I'm gonna live. Internet says I got 15% chance of living for 5 years. I don't know what we're gonna do." You don't do that to people that you care about. If you care about people, you figure out a plan and some parameters of what's going on with you, and then you figure out a way to package that to give to them if you care about them. You don't just, that's a gut punch to somebody, especially my mom that loves me. And I wouldn't want to just come to her and say, "I don't know what we're going to do, but I'm probably going to die." That's just crazy. And it would be incorrect as well. So
Yeah.
I feel like the best way is to have at least some level of a plan of what you're going to do, which doctor you're going to go see, when you have an appointment, so you can have some of those specific points that they can look to. Then she can say, "Okay, well, so Tuesday you see the doctor. We'll hear more on Tuesday." That gives people some kind of something to track and take into consideration, instead of just picturing, "Oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen." You don't want that. You want to have some kind of a plan in place. That's just my opinion.
Okay. So I know when I was going through treatment, like I always went by myself, because what I told myself was I'm having a hard time dealing with this myself. So if someone comes with me, I don't want them to be upset and I have to support them.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, um, I wish I would have done things differently. I wish I would have let them in, because I know they love me and they wanted to support me.
Yeah.
I just didn't know how to deal with that. So, do you let your wife? Does she go with you?
It's not a question of let. In fact, she would be more than happy to come. She had already gotten approval from the school to go to every one of my meetings, my chemo sessions, and she would absolutely go. But they're 2.5, 3 hours long, and I mean, just between you and me, I got these special glasses you put on, and you can watch movies in them. And I figured I'm gonna kill 2.5 hours, and so a bunch of times I would sit and watch Netflix, and I can hear the sound. And I mean, I look like I have sunglasses on, sitting there in a chemo chair. I'm watching movies. So not everybody does that. I also would bring my tablet and do some work there. I bring my readers and sit my tablet up in my lap and do all kinds of work. Um, and I figured I could use that time to either be productive or be entertained, but not for us to just sit there, because she can read a book and I'm gonna sit there. I mean, I don't really need that. Also, I will say that my chemo wasn't like devastating. I would get cold sensitivity about 20 minutes in, but I wasn't sick or nauseous or anything like that. I think the anti-nausea medicine and the steroids and so forth really help you with that now. So it was really nothing to it. It's like more like going to a spa minus the poking. I'm just sitting there. Hey, can I get you a blanket and some crackers? I mean, I was like, yeah, sure. Blanket, some crackers. Can I get you another drink? I mean, it really is different, I think, than a lot of people picture. And even, fortunately, you haven't had to go recently, but it's probably different than it was 20 years ago, the last time you went. And it is. I'm not saying it's like a spa. They're not giving you a massage, but they're giving you a blanket, and it's a warm, preheated blanket. And they have both cold and room temperature water and drinks, so that you can have in case you have the cold sensitivity. It's a nice experience. I just figured that there wasn't any need to bring her into it and make her have to leave work when she has kids that depend on her, and she's a very popular teacher that the kids love. And I hate to have her have a substitute teacher, every other week for the second half of a day. It was just a lot. So I chose not to go that route. She did go the first time, and there wasn't anything to it.
Okay, okay. And how did you include your children in the process? I mean, did you tell them?
Yeah, that one was a little rough. But oddly enough, when I came, we had dinner with them, and we told them they needed to be at dinner tonight. At their ages, they're doing all kinds of different stuff. We don't always sit at the table together. We did when they were younger, but anyhow, they sat at the table, and I let Allison do the talking, because I wasn't sure I was going to get through it, to be honest with you. And she said, I have, I don't even know exactly the words. I'm kind of probably blocked it out by now, but it was something to the effect of, he's gone to the doctor and he had pain, and they did a scan, and now they did a colon. We waited till by the way, we waited till we had the colonoscopy to confirm definitively that it was in fact colon cancer. And before we told them, and we didn't want to tell them something and find out that we devastated them for nothing. Turns out it was just gas or something. I didn't want to tell them false information. And anyway, I mean, as soon as the word cancer came out of my wife's mouth, my daughter absolutely fell apart. I mean, she was mortified and shaking, and my wife was hugging her, and my son was sitting beside me, and I didn't know what was happening, but I just kind of put my hand like this, and my son stood up, and he came over, and I don't want to say this, I'm gonna start crying. Anyway, he came over and gave me a hug, and that's it. So he said he loved me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, on TV and everything, when somebody has cancer, they die. So
Yeah,
that's immediately what you think.
and all this time while we're talking, my wife is rightfully saying, this is not a death sentence. There's treatment plans. We're going to get through this. Of course, this was before my friend John had passed away. It would have been a lot harder to have this conversation a week after he died, because they knew he had colon cancer too. But I don't know. There's a part of me that, my kids, we always have this thing. Ever since my dad had his accident, I told him I loved him. And my mom and my kids and everybody, I say I love you when I'm getting ready to hang up the phone, when I'm getting ready to say goodbye. That way, if something were to happen, no matter what happens, I don't have to wonder what was the last thing I said.
Yeah.
I will always know that the last thing I said every time I've ever been on the phone was I love you. So I don't have to think back and remember that. Because then you're like, well, gosh, what were we arguing? Did I say something mean? No, I remember because I said I love you every time. So we started doing that, and I think that that helps a lot to have that kind of connection with everybody, and they know. But there's something different when you see. And this sounds almost self-centered, but when my daughter was crying, that's wow, she must really love me. My son giving me a hug, he must really love me. I was like, well, it's kind of like getting a hug from somebody. Like, wow, you really. I hate to tell you that I have cancer to get a hug, but yeah, I don't go around hugging my son as often. I give my daughter a hug, and she kind of leans in like shoulder. She'll give the shoulder lean in, like, okay, Dad, we'll make a big deal out of it. But I love both my kids so much, and I'd give them more hugs if I could. But
Aw,
you know how it is.
okay. Well, we have a couple of questions. Let me put this on. Um, how has cancer created distance? Did you hold on to your feelings? Were you being strong for everyone else?
Wow, that's a good one. Yeah, that kind of cuts to the chase. First of all, I don't think it created any distance between, particularly my wife and I. Certainly not. I mean, my mom and I, we've always been close, and my kids, we were always close. So there's no changes there. I would say, if anything, particularly with my wife, that probably brought us closer together, um, because we have something that's pretty important to talk about. That, and I don't know, the level of empathy that she has for me is amazing, because she even, I think she openly admitted that when she asked what I wanted for dinner, it didn't matter what the answer was. That's what we were having. If there was a period where I got whatever I wanted. Like, which restaurant do you want to go to? There's this one, there's this one, there's this one, and I'd say, oh, I don't know, how about Taco Bell? Okay, Taco Bell sounds really good. Whatever. I'm kidding about Taco. Actually, I'm not. I love Taco Bell, but I didn't take my wife to Taco Bell, just for the record. I have, but not usually. Anyway, she would flex a little bit more about what we were doing, because she had this feeling of poor Bernie. I don't know if she's thinking poor Bernie. That's probably a bad word. She just, I think she just felt bad that I'm going through this, and so we can at least get him the food he wants, which is a nice gesture. And there's a tiny negative side. Not she didn't do anything wrong. There's nothing wrong with this, but there's something about noticing, when you get to the point where you start noticing people doing extra nice things for you or treating you differently, that then suddenly reminds you, oh, that's right, I have cancer. Like, it's almost like, it's not a negative thing. I be very clear about this. When your friends are extra nice to you when you have cancer, that's not a strike against them. It's not a strike against her whatsoever. It means that they care about you. They're like, oh my gosh, I feel so bad. I want to cut his grass, or I want to, help him with something, wash his car, do whatever. People want to do things for you. That's not a negative. But your perception of it could be, oh, that's right, it's because I have cancer. And you weren't even thinking about it. Oh, now someone brought you some food, or someone did something nice for you. And even though it's a very nice gesture and it's not negative in any way, it's sometimes in the back of your head, you're going, oh, that's right, it's because I have cancer. And that's not a net negative. It's just or another reminder. And gosh, one thing I never noticed before was how many movies I watched and TV shows where, oh yeah, his dad just died, he had cancer. And I'm like, can we not? Can we go 2 hours without hearing the word cancer? I mean, it's hard to even watch TV without having it come up. Oh, and then the commercials come on. It's like, hey, we got this new drug for cancer. And I'm like, oh, for crap's sake. I can't look at my phone without having ads about cancer drugs, because I made the mistake of searching for cancer information. So, yeah. So for most people, I think I stay pretty strong. And, to answer this person's question, that's Allison. My wife's name's Allison too. She spells it with one L. I'm not sure which way is correct, but if you ask my wife, it's with one L. But she probably would want to know that I don't talk about all the ugly details with everybody. I have some, like I said, I have a very small group of friends, and if I feel like they really want to know and they really want to listen, when someone says, how you doing, you don't tell them all the ugly stuff. You just say, I'm doing pretty good considering, or I'm doing fine, or whatever. They don't necessarily want to know every detail. then there are other people that want to know, like, well, how bad is this? Like, what's really going on? Tell me the truth. And then I tell them, and nobody really likes hearing the story, but I have to get into details about things that are very uncomfortable, like bowel problems, toilet issues. I don't even know if you want to get into all that, but I will if you want. But it's stuff that I also shared with my wife, and that gets into our topic a little bit, is that the things that I had going wrong with me were all chemo related. They weren't necessarily, some of it was kind of cancer related, but it's really ugly stuff. It's not attractive, and the problems that I was having are not. And despite that, she's quite a trooper. She kind of looked the other way about that. And of course, having this bag around my waist, for 3 days every 2 weeks, and having this lump on my chest for my port. These are things that are also in my head that she didn't have a problem with. But I would look in the mirror, I look in the full length mirror and go, oh, God, not only have I lost a bunch of weight, but I've got this ball that's around my waist, and I got this tube here. And, I would think, and it's in my own head, I would think, oh, I wouldn't want to be with me. I'm kind of gross looking right now, And so some of it's me projecting this, and if there's probably some reality, like, yeah, I've been in the bathroom for an hour. I'm probably not going to come out there and be romantic, if you know what I mean. So, and neither one of us wanted it at that point, and that's totally logical. That being said, she's been exceptionally good about never making me feel bad about how I look, and even when I complain about how I look, she would always say something positive, and she's been excellent about that.
Yeah. But I think, my so I have the experience of being the patient, the cancer survivor, and then my sister was diagnosed with cancer, and trying to be supportive to her, I realized that it's hard to, I don't know, you don't know what to say. I would think that when I was the patient, I heard enough about cancer and treatment through the doctor. So when I was with family or friends, I didn't want to talk about cancer. Let's pretend like that didn't even.
Yeah,
let's talk
I know
about
what you mean. Yep.
the game or this or that or that. But people don't know what you want. And I know for me, I wasn't very vocal because I didn't know what I wanted you to say anyway.
Right.
So I couldn't tell you what I wanted.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell people now.
I didn't talk about cancer. So.
Well, you hear the expression, and I don't know exactly what it means. I think of Dave Chappelle when I say this, but the expression is "keep it real." I don't even know what that really means, but being realistic and just speaking truthfully and openly with somebody probably means the most to somebody. If you just polish up everything you're going to say to them, and every time you see them, everything's going to be great, you're going to be fine. Maybe you're not. Sometimes you're not. So just keeping it real would include things like, oh man, that sucks. Like, well, what are you going to do? What are we going to do about this? Is there anything I can do? Whatever. Asking questions and just being there. And honestly, humor is the biggest thing. I mean, John Pierce, when he found out that I had cancer, he was telling me about the Virginia Cancer Institute, and he was saying that they give out these gift bags when you come there. And I was like, oh, really? He says, yeah, I've still got mine. It's got like a blanket and this and that and other thing. He goes, if you're still alive in December, I'll give it to you for Christmas. And we laughed. Of course, the ladies are sitting there, our wives were like, that's disgusting and sick. And we're laughing. And the cool part was being, once you have cancer, now you can make cancer jokes, You're not allowed to do that if you don't have cancer. So I feel like just jokes in general and being lighthearted, you can be in the worst mood ever and thinking about the worst stuff, and then a joke just cuts through. One of the things that my dad had a stroke, and he was literally being wheeled into the hospital room, and he was already paralyzed from the chest down. Now half of his head doesn't work. His mouth is drooping, and he can barely talk now. And he came in there, and excuse my use of the term, but he's a Vietnam vet. He called himself a cripple. I didn't call him a cripple. He called himself a cripple, and I would never use that term other than quoting my dad. But he said, boy, and he had the droopy face, and he said, I don't want to be a cripple. And I was looked at him and I was like, I mean, he was already paralyzed. And it's, you mean more of a cripple? He's like, well yeah, more of a cripple. I was like, well, you already have the handicap space. It's not like they have a better one for you now that you can't use the other half. And he started laughing, and he could barely laugh because his face was paralyzed. But I'm telling you, it changed the mood instantly. Cracking the right joke that gets through to somebody really helps. If you can't think about anything else to do to help somebody, be funny. At least lighten up the mood. That's my advice to you. Hugs and all that's great, and telling them everything's going to be fine. Do that if you want, but jokes really get through. Even if they're dark, they're still good. That helps. As long as the person's laughing at them. If they're not, if they cry, then maybe you should stop.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you know, when you make jokes about it, people are like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
They make jokes about it. They don't know if you're going to accept it.
Yeah, that's true. It helps if they already have cancer, so they can make those jokes. But but not everybody does, fortunately. So, but yeah, just being funny about it, and I think it's one of those things where if you're so extra sensitive around me because you know I have cancer that you're very careful about talking about it, that's actually bad too. Like, don't be so careful. You don't need to be so careful. Like, I already know I have cancer. I know all the statistics. I know all the things I'm going to be going through. I know all the good, the bad, and the ugly. So you don't need to be extra sensitive around me. Like, oh, hey, you shouldn't have said that because he has cancer. No, just say whatever you don't. If you hold back, it's a reminder that I have cancer. If you hold back on things or you sugarcoat things, that reminds me that I do have cancer. That's not good. That's negative. So yeah. Keep the truth going and be honest and open about it. And if you want to know what are my odds of living, just ask me. I'll tell you. I'll tell you the statistics, and I'll tell you the whole story I told you earlier about how the statistics would probably be yes.
So let me see. I have some pictures of your. Let me see the journey.
Oh yeah. All right, so the picture on the left is me going in for surgery. The picture second to the left is my wife and I in the hospital room after my surgery. I think that was the second night. She stayed at the hospital the entire week. She went home during the day to shower, but came back and ended up sleeping on the sofa kind of thing in the windowsill at Massey Cancer Center. And then the one with me with that shows the port on my chest, and I kind of keep track of what I look like because I lost a bunch of weight. I went from 217 down to 180. And the picture on the far right is my friend John Pierce. He's the one that passed away, and in this picture he's harassing the nurse that's kind of cut out of that picture, but she's there, and he always made fun with the nurses, and he would jerk his arm and act like he got hurt when they touched him, and just anything to sort of irritate them. And they loved him. They were very upset when he was when he got really sick, and of course when he passed. But that's the kind of guy he was. Everybody knows that he was funny.
Yeah. Here is with the Batman thing.
I love this. All right, so the one with me sitting on in the doctor's office is my favorite. That actually made it to the Yelp review for the Virginia Cancer Institute. And the one with John and I, he's wearing the Superman shirt there. I actually went there to visit with John in the when he was getting his treatment. I had an appointment with Dr. Van Landingham, who's the doctor in the picture beside me, the blonde lady next to me. I had an appointment, but I didn't have to have no chemo that day and no port removal, no port stuff that day. So I could wear my Batman suit, which is like a movie set ready, really nice one. I got that so I could visit kids at the the Children's Hospital of Richmond, which that's a whole different story. But anyway, so then there's a picture of me with after my surgery. That's actually in the hospital room, the bottom left picture.
So what was all the different tape? You had all those.
Oh, those are holes. I would lift up my shirt and show you, but there's holes for the rods to go in. It's a robotic surgery. one you can't see right there is the bottom, it's probably right below the top of my underwear. It's like a C-section. It's a line about 4 inches long that is where they remove the tumor. They had to make one big incision just to get the tumors out. The little holes are where everything was done, and the whole surgery was done with the doctor on the other side of the room. Like, he didn't hardly have to touch me.
Okay.
And he's sitting there with his head up to a screen. He's got these probes, these things on his fingers, and he's doing the surgery, even sewing stitches and everything from across the room. And they've even done it from across the country and across the world, across oceans before. That's the same picture of John. That's his nurse Jen, who she helped him for years, and she was very, very helpful with him, and we just really went the extra mile to make sure she took good care of him. The picture with me with my backpack, I made a special backpack with all my cancer-related gear, including my goggles that I watch movies with, and everything from the numbing cream from my port down to a roll of toilet paper just in case. And then the picture on the right was me trying to recover at the hospital with the, I think it's called an incentivizer. Yeah, so I'm trying to blow on that or vacuum on it. And actually, you know what? That's actually breathing treatment. Sorry, that's a breathing treatment. I had a terrible cold when I went for my surgery, and I had a massive amount of phlegm accumulating after the surgery, and I had to cough. And the one thing you don't want to do after abdominal surgery is cough. And it was brutal. Yeah, I would be like a 1 or 2 pain level regularly, and then I'd have to cough, and it would go 10, 10, 10. I mean, I would almost pass out from the pain, and that was to try and help break it up. But VCU's Massey Cancer Center, Dr. Leopoldo, short Leo Fernandez, best doctor. I can't imagine anybody be any better. He did the entire surgery. It took him 10 hours to do the surgery. He got the colon, the liver, and the gallbladder all in one surgery, and there aren't a whole lot of surgeons in the whole world that can do that. So shout out to him.
Okay, awesome. What did they think about you coming into Batman?
They loved it. It's funny. I came into the reception area, and of course, people are thinking, "Who is this?" And they didn't really know what to do, I guess. But there's the wonderful ladies, Tina, Diane, Valerie. I'm going to forget their names. I can't recall them off the top of my head. But all the ladies that are out front, they are the best people who are like angels, and I love them dearly. I went in there, and there were some people in the waiting room, and there's no kids here. This is Virginia Cancer, and she doesn't have little kids there. So John comes in and sits down, and then one by one other people come in. I remember there was one particular elderly woman. She was, I don't know her name, but she was in a wheelchair, and someone was pushing her, and she had a wig on. I could tell she'd been through a lot, and she'd lost her hair, and she had a wig on, and she saw Batman, and she says, I could barely hear her because she was very weak, and she spoke to the person pushing the wheelchair. She said, "Can I get a picture with Batman?" And the lady, I heard it, and I said, "Ma'am, would you like to have a picture?" Of course, I said it in my Batman. I said, "Would you like to have a picture with Batman?" And she said, "Yes." And so I went over to her, and I kneeled beside her, and she got the picture. Anyway, fast forward a couple of weeks, I'm back there, but now I'm not Batman. I recognize her, but she doesn't recognize me. And I said, "Did you see Batman a couple of weeks ago?" And she said, "Yeah, that was really cool." I said, "I'm Batman." And she said, "You are?" And I said, "Yeah." And she's like, she wanted to give me a hug. Said, "Thank you so much." I go back to the place to get where John's getting his chemo that day. I didn't have any chemo, but I sat there with John. And when people would come in, they would eventually break down and tell their nurse, "Hey, can I get a picture with Batman?" And then they would come and say, "Would you mind getting a picture with this person?" I took several pictures with the people. Anyway, the ladies out front came back, and one of them came, I think it was Tina, came back. She said, "You would be surprised at the mood that changed in that waiting room when Batman was in there." She said it made every single person in there's day. Everybody that works here, the staff in the back, everybody, it made their day. And I was like, well, that made it worth buying that costume, which wasn't cheap. And and then I want to do it again and again and again. And unfortunately, Children's Hospital is having some trouble coordinating events. It's a staff issue there that they're having, but I will be there at some point. And if I have another event that I can go to that will help people with cancer, I will definitely do it anywhere, anytime, as long as I'm nearby, because I have work.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. So Bernie, you sent me these pictures, so it looks like
Man.
you had a good life.
Yeah. And these were some of the best times. This is bucket list stuff right here. The top left picture, my wife is on a tour boat. She didn't want to come to the shore. I don't think she had on the right clothes to swim that day, but we were at they call Close Big Pig Beach. The picture here beside me is at the Pig Beach. That's my boat on the right. That's at nighttime, and that's with the dinghy in the water. And that's what I came home to every night for. It was 2 winters in a row for about 4 months total time. But I came home and people came to visit me and stuff, so it wasn't straight 4 months. But my buddy Lee Burrows, he's a local Exumo guy. He doesn't care about picking up turtles. He grabs a turtle and shows them to us, but you're not really supposed to do that. But he's a local. I'm not going to argue with him. The bottom left picture, I went spear fishing. I'm not really much into fishing, but hunting fish with a spear, now that's interesting because you're actually you're really hunting it. That's different. So the guy in the picture with where I have my arm around him with the red shirt, that's Uncle Elvin. He worked at the conch stand, and we got to be good friends because I would hang out on the beach there. And the only person that's consistently there, everybody else is a tourist. They come and go, but he was always there. And I wasn't on the beach every day. Don't get me wrong. I had plenty of work to do on my computer. Right. And then there's a picture of my boat. That was when we first got to the Bahamas, and I couldn't believe it. I took the drone and I flew the drone around. That's a picture of me with the sunset behind us. That's my buddy Barry. He is an identical twin, but he's not my identical twin. But I think he does look a lot like me. We had shaved head and beards, and I did get pretty dark there too. So we said we looked like twins. But that's my wife on Iguana Beach with my son Luke with the green shorts. His friend Jackson, who works with me, and Paige. Paige and Allison, my wife, went and stayed there at my friend Lenka's house. She has a house down there, and she was nice enough to let them stay there so that the boys didn't have their parents in the same boat. There was room for all of us, but they don't really want their moms involved in it. So, and then Ryan Falk, he's my good friend. He helped me bring the boat there and back. He's in the picture. He worked for me at the time too. And we were on the bow of the boat using it's on autopilot, and we walked all the way to the front with the remote control and took pictures when we first got to some turquoise water. It was a truly bucket event level stuff. I live in Virginia. To get all the way to the Bahamas is a big deal, but to earn enough money to buy the boat and ultimately go into serious debt, which is a whole different story. But buying the boat, getting to the point where you know how to operate the boat and getting it all the way to the Bahamas. With the help of my friend Scott Rainey, he's a boat delivery captain. He helped me get the boat there and back twice. And then, of course, there's a picture of Allison and I. She's with me. That was when we went last year. We didn't take the boat last year. We just flew there and stayed in an Airbnb. And that the bottom right picture is a tiny little picture, but it's a little tiki bar on the beach, and you can't see who they are, but it's my friend Lanka and Barry, and two of my best friends there. And that was a great spot. I met so many people there. I could ride my scooter from the boat in the marina to that beach. I wasn't staying at that resort, but you could still go to the restaurant. So I went to that restaurant and I'd go out on the beach and hang out every now and then. But I met some great people. My friend Jeremy was there, and I met him. I met some really wonderful people, and the bartenders were great, and they knew me. I mean, we knew everybody. When you stay there for that long, you know everybody. Well, you know all the people that are staying there.
So how do you do that? How do you go somewhere for 4 months?
I was working remotely anyway from home. I wasn't on the job as much back then as I am now. Probably the reason I'm on the job more now is because I spent too much money doing stupid crap like going to the Bahamas. But I frankly, I mismanaged money. I mean, I'm in the Bahamas, but I had my computer set up there, and we did plenty of projects while I was gone. I just wasn't there. We would have made more money if I'd been there. But Ryan, the guy on the front of the boat there with me, he was running the projects, and we still got things done. And it was bucket list stuff. And honestly, now that I'll say now today, but When I found out that I had cancer, I was like, man, I'm glad I went, because if something happens to me now, I can already check that off my list. I've already done it.
Exactly.
I want to go again, but I am so glad no one can take that away. Even if they repo my boat, I still got to go to the Bahamas, and you can't take that away. The
See,
memories
that's
I have.
why you should live every day like
Yes,
it's the only
yes.
one that matters. Tomorrow's
Yeah.
not promised to
I will
anyone.
say you should do some financial planning. I might have messed up on that a little bit, but I wouldn't have my friends, the friends that you see in these pictures here, as well as many others that I met there. I wouldn't have that. I wouldn't have experiences. My kids, my wife, and their friends got to come. I even had a couple of employees come down there and visit, and we got to do like next level epic stuff, in turquoise water, beautiful beaches, and we got to do things that people that are just tourists that come there that are only there for a week don't normally get to do, because we have all the private access to stuff just from
Okay.
having my boat there. It was wonderful.
And so even through treatment, you're still working, huh?
Yeah, that was just last week. Yeah. Well, again, that goes down to the financial planning. If I plan better, maybe I wouldn't be on the roof. But I'm doing all the work now, and you see my trucks in the driveway or in the yard of this customer's house, and we're taking panels off. Well, a lot of times we have to do what's called a detach reset. That's when someone needs a new roof and they have solar panels on. You got to take the solar panels off, then the roofer puts the roof on, and then we come back and put them back on. And that's what we're doing in this picture at this customer's house.
Okay. Now you going through treatment and you're getting up on roofs?
I sure am. I sure am. I would say I'm not tough. It's not because I'm tough. It's because I'm lucky. I'm lucky that my treatments aren't so bad. I did a lot less on Wednesday through Friday when I had to pump on after my oxaliplatin would really mess up my system, my cold sensitivity, and I just felt kind of crappy. I did computer work though. I still worked. I just chose those days to do office work. But I will say not all of it's luck, because this was pointed out to me. I didn't come up with this on my own, but I asked my doctor, how is it that I can go to the gym 2 weeks after my robotic surgery and do sit-ups, and most people can't. And they had the same surgery, they can't. And he said, well, it's because you were in good shape before the surgery. All those years that I went to the gym for my own vanity and longevity and everything, that's all great. But when something bad happens to you that you weren't expecting, like cancer, you do better than people who didn't do that. If somebody is lives a very sedentary lifestyle and never works out, and doesn't take as good a care of themselves, they have the cancer come along, and the outcomes can be a lot worse. Not just cancer, but like even a car accident or anything. If you're in better shape, you're going to do a whole lot better. And even though that wasn't part of my plan was just to look good. So I'm not gonna lie. Honestly, my wife said a strong father figure will help girls be good daughters. They'll be less promiscuous. And I'm like, my little girl, she was little, and I was like, oh, so I need to be strong. So I'm like, I got to go to the gym. I don't think that's what she meant, but it was the least I could do is go to the gym, right? So I remember thinking I need to be a physically strong father figure at least.
Yeah.
And so I went to the gym, took care of it. My sons followed in my footsteps, and I don't know if I was leading by example or what, but he's been in great shape and took good care of himself. And I feel like that's a really good idea for people that don't have cancer that are watching this. Take care of yourself in case you might get something one day. You don't know what's coming down the road, and if worst case scenarios, at least you look good. Yeah, I mean, it's the reality. So anyway, you can't take your fancy car or your fancy things that you buy with your money with you everywhere you go, but you can take yourself. And nothing says, hey, well, this guy takes care of himself. He had to actually work to get that. You can't just get like that by paying someone. Although people do Mount Jaro and they lose some weight, they do the Ozempic and all that. That's you can't actually pay to do that. But when a dude walks in and he's got muscles, he did that the hard way. There's no easy way to get that. And I did it for those reasons, and to make myself feel better when I looked in the mirror, and it helped me in the long run in a way that I never expected. And that's why I'm doing well. That's why I'm on a roof working when I wouldn't have necessarily been able to if I had never done that. That's what
Yeah.
the doctor says anyway. I would have thought that I'm just lucky, but I'm not just lucky. I actually did prepare for this inadvertently.
Yeah. So, so, so again, our topic was the space between us. So, do you feel like this cancer diagnosis has brought you and your wife closer together emotionally?
Yes, I do, and it had this. It's kind of a double edged sword because now the person that I talk to about the only person that I will talk to about certain things is her. Um, like I said, there's a lot of unfortunately poop related problems that I've had, and when I don't want to, you don't just call up random people and tell them about your poop problems, but at the same time, I mean, she's my girlfriend, she's my bride, she's my wife, and I need somebody to be able to tell that to. But if I had a I don't know if I had a clone of her and I could say, okay, I'm only going to tell the clone about this, then I could. Then when I saw her, she would know any all that. She would know all the trouble I was having in the bathroom. You know, that would have been nice. But she handled it well, and I have a feeling that once the chemo is finished and I'm recovering, and I'm lucky that I'm going to be able to do that. Not everybody can say that, and I'm hoping I'm telling you the truth. But once I'm recovered and I'm kind of going back to normal, that those memories of me having these miserable times in the bathroom will fade away from both my memory and hers, and we can return. But again, I'm lucky. There's a lot of folks out there who it's not going to always get better, and sometimes it's going to get worse. And I was telling you before this podcast started that there are people out there whose spouses and loved ones have left them. I mean, just straight up said, "I can't deal with this. I'm out," and just left. And that's different. That's a whole next level. I don't know how you deal with that, but all I can say is that person wasn't your soulmate if they did that.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to tell you. I wish I had advice for somebody in that situation, but that person was not your soulmate.
Yeah.
And it's better to find out now than never, or than later. It'd be nice if you found out, before you got with that person. But
Right.
that's really unfortunate. But I've been very lucky. My wife's wonderful, and there's zero chance of her bolting on me for no matter how sick I get. I don't have to worry about that. That's not even in the cards. She loves me. She's gonna watch this and go, I've got him fooled.
Yeah,
She's I got a friend in the background. She's like, all right, it won't be that long now. I'm just kidding. I'm messing with you about that. But
I'm gonna have to bring her back one day so she can
yeah,
tell her side of the story.
yeah. And when I'm not around to listen to her.
But Bernie, I appreciate you being with here. I'm glad that you're not having such a terrible, horrible time with the treatment. Um, you know, cancer treatment. I said cancer treatment will kill you. It's what kills you.
Yeah.
That was my fear of having to go through treatment again. It's
Yeah.
not the death; it's the treatment.
Oh,
So
quality of life. And honestly, it's the quality of life is something that, again, I'm very lucky. When I would literally, I was with John in the hospital when we didn't know it at the time, but he was only a couple of weeks away from passing, and he's asking me, how you doing? I'm like, what difference does it make? Whatever I'm doing is this, and yours is this. You're really sick, and having that kind of empathy for somebody is a huge trait that people will always remember him for. And I feel like I'm very lucky. I don't want anyone watching this to think that I think this is what everyone goes through. I know I've been in the cancer forums and learned way more than I even wanted to ever know. There are people going through a whole lot that's way, 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 way worse than what I'm going through. There are people that just found out that they had cancer and they're already in the hospice program. And I just, all I can do is pray for somebody like that, because they're in a rough spot, and I hope they can find peace.
yeah. Well, like you said, you're lucky. You have a good wife that's been the support for you. You have family that's there for you.
Yeah, I'm lucky in all kinds of ways, and those pictures of me in the Bahamas that's a different kind of luck. But I've had a fortunate life being chosen by my mom and dad who adopted me, raised by good parents, have two beautiful children and a wonderful family. And I now have a huge gift that has been given to me that might surprise people, but that is my outlook on life that is different that most people don't get. I know you have it. It's the grass is greener, the skies are bluer. I literally have looked up at the trees and thought how pretty the trees are. I don't think I've done that since I was about 2 years old. That is a gift. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say something crazy and say the cancer brought me a gift that is a net positive. Even though all the suffering sucks and all the miserable pain sucks, it really is a terrible, terrible thing. But life is worth it. The good things that are in life make it worth the pain.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I say too. I have, you know, I never would have wished to have cancer, but it's brought me a lot of gratitude
Yeah,
for,
I agree. No, I would never wish it. I'd rather you just go through life thinking that time grows on trees and being oblivious to it than to have to go through cancer. But if you're going to go through cancer, appreciate that gift that you got from life. You got to see the world from a perspective that very few people do, unfortunately. And hopefully, other people that don't have cancer will see it just by even listening to this and thinking about it and thinking, "Wow, I'm really lucky that like I can call my mom or my dad or my son or my daughter or my cousin or my brother or my friends right now if I want to. Somebody that's dead can't do that. You have time. Do the right thing now. Pick up the phone, call the person you need to call, give people hugs, tell them you love them before you hang up. That way you can remember what was the last thing I said? It was I love you. You don't have to think about it anymore. These are the things that I hope somebody remembers from this.
Exactly. Well, all right, Bernie, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really flattered.
And I wish you all the best in the rest of your treatment.
Yes, ma'am.
And I hope 20 years from now.
Oh yeah, we'll have to have a follow up.
All right. Well, tell your wife thank you for
right.
you seem like you're a really good guy,
Thank
and
you.
For allowing you to come on here and be yourself.
Well, I feel the same towards you. You're a wonderful person. I've talked to you enough to know that, and I'm really honored that you would choose me out of all the people you could have picked.
All right. Well, thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. You too.
And everyone, thank you so much for being here. I hope that, this brought you some insight, some hope, some inspiration. If you know someone who's been impacted by cancer, please share with them about the show, subscribe. We'll be here every other week. We'll continue to have cancer survivors. I want to have some caregivers, some other points of view. So if you have a cancer story, please reach out to me. I want to share your story. All right. But thank you, everyone, and we will see you next time.
Been part of your story, but it doesn't get to define your future. Your journey didn't end with survival. It's leading you somewhere greater, to joy. See you next episode.